Hey there, welcome to a video tutorial on how to make this little dragonfly motif. I'm going to be using this to border a baby blanket, but you can use it for whatever project you want. This video is just going to go over how to make the motif, and then there's going to be a separate video on how to do the border and figure out how many you need for a blanket if that's the project you're looking at. I'm going to be using some purple yarn. I've got some Bernat Softy baby yarn in the color Soft Lilac, and it does recommend a 4mm crochet hook according to the tag, but feel free to adjust your hook size as you need. So I've got my crochet hook and I've got a scissor to snip off my ends. Now you could theoretically make this any size that you want as long as it's an odd number of stitches to have a middle. This is 19 stitches because I wanted to get close to 20. I didn't want to do, 9 or close to 10 because that would be too small, and 29, which is, just shy of 30, would be too big. So this is a good kind of medium size. So this is going to be 19 stitches across, and I'm going to show you how to make it. Okay, so the first thing you want to do is you want to start your foundation chain. You want to start that with a slip knot. So to start it with a slip knot, what you're going to do is hold the yarn over 2 fingers, go around and over. You're creating an X. You're going to go under and pull this yarn through, and that'll create a slip knot. You can also just tie a knot as well. There are no wrong ways to do it. Now we're going to do what's called a foundation chain, which just looks kind of like a braid. To do it, you're going to yarn over and you're going to pull that through to make a loop. We're going to keep doing that. So we're going to yarn over and pull through to make a loop. When I was first learning, I kind of did it like this for yarn over. So feel free to do it like that if you want to yarn over, pull through. I prefer to kind of hold it taut. And we're going to keep doing that. So far we've made 1, 2, 3, 4 chains. We're actually going to be making 20, and I'll explain why once we get there. So I'm just going to keep going. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. As you're going, you don't want to be too tight. 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and 20. There we go. So the reason why I wanted you to make 20, which is a little different because it's one more than this number of stitches we want, right? We want 19 stitches across to have an odd number. The reason why is as we start putting stitches here, we're not actually able to stitch into this last loop that we made. So we're skipping that and only starting to put stitches into one after. We typically call that the second chain from the hook, because you can't really go into this chain or else it'll start undoing itself. So your foundation chain will always be one bigger than how many stitches you want. And then all the way through this, like all of these stitches, these are all what's called a double crochet. So this is a really good beginner project for how to do double crochet. So each of these stitches are going to be worked into these loops or holes. To do a double crochet, we're going to yarn over the hook. We're going to insert into that first stitch. Remember, we're doing the second chain from the hook. We're going to yarn over and pull through. You'll have 3 loops on the hook. We're going to yarn over, pull through 2. At this point, you'll have 2 loops on the hook, and then you're going to yarn over and pull through the next 2. And I'm going to show you that a couple more times. So this next one, right, you're yarning over. You're going to go into that next stitch. You're going to grab the yarn and pull it through. You'll have 3 loops on the hook. You're going to yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, and pull through 2. And as you saw, you can either yarn it over like this, or I kind of prefer to do it using it, holding it taut. Okay, so I'm going to keep going. Yarn over, grab the yarn, pull it through, 3 loops on the hook, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. So far we've got 3 double crochets there. Okay, yarn over, into the next stitch, yarn over, grab the yarn and pull it through, 3 loops on the hook, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. And we're gonna just keep doing that all the way along until we get to the very end of this chain. Okay, I'm just gonna adjust my camera and get a little closer as we're working. So we're just gonna keep going all the way through. So yarn over into the stitch, yarn over, pull through, 3 loops on the hook, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. And we're just gonna keep double crocheting all the way along. If you do start to explore other videos, what you will also find is double crochet is what we call this in the US. It's kind of 2 stitches tall. The UK has different terms, so you'll just want to make sure that as you're watching tutorials, you pay attention to not just what people call the stitch, but also to kind of the movements that they're doing. They might call something different a double crochet from this. It's just different vernacular in different countries. Okay, so almost done. We're continuing to double crochet all the way along. Three loops on the hook, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. We're continuing to do that all the way. The first row, I'll tell you, is the hardest row because it's hard to kind of grab onto that chain. It gets much easier as you go when you have a little bit more to grab onto. So row 2 is going to be a lot easier. Okay, almost done. Okay, so we've just done the very last one. You can see that last stitch with a knot. If you want to double check to count, you can count that you've got 19 stitches, right? Your stitches look like these. So 1 stitch, 2 stitch, 3 stitch, etc. You can count all the way. Be sure to notice this first stitch is a little hard to see. It's kind of a little stumpy. So just make sure that you're careful when you're counting that part. So now we're ready for row 2. If we look back at our example piece, we're actually going to do 2 rows where we're not doing anything other than just doing double crochets across. So we're just going to be double crocheting. Now, crocheting, you can only go right to left as you saw. If you want to switch directions to do the next row, what we're going to do is we're going to yarn over and pull through. We're going to chain 1. And yarn over and pull through. We're going to chain 2. That's just getting us to the height of the next row. And we're going to turn our work and we're going to go the other way. Now, some people will call that chain 2 a stitch. I don't like to call it a stitch because I find that it doesn't look quite as nice. It kind of has like a weird look if you kind of use this as the first one. So I like to just do a double crochet into that first stitch right here. Okay, so we're going to yarn over. We go into the top of that first stitch. It's going to look different because now we're not going into our turning chain. You're going to grab the yarn, pull it through, 3 loops on the hook. You're going to yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over and pull through 2. Okay, and we're going to go all the way across doing that same thing. So yarn over into the next stitch, grab the yarn, pull it through, 3 on the hook, yarn over, pull through 2, and yarn over, pull through 2. Okay, we've now got 2 stitches. You can kind of separate them and see them. And we're just going to do that all the way across. Yarn over into the next stitch. Grab the yarn, pull it through, 3 loops on the hook. Yarn over, pull through 2. Yarn over, pull through 2. And we're just going to continue all the way until the end. Okay, but I'll keep the recording so you can kind of watch. If you ever do mess up a stitch and it gets kind of like stuck, like I'll kind of try and do the next one a little funky. Like right here, I've kind of caught the yarn and it's like a little stuck. Anytime you do that, you're just going to take your hook out. I'm going to hold this last bit, and if you just tug at the working yarn that's connected to your spool, it'll undo. So anytime you can just pull the yarn that's connected to this spool and it'll undo all your stitch work if it gets stuck or anything like that. Okay, so I'm just going to continue on until I get to the very end, and we'll talk through what row 3 is going to look like. Okay, like I said, this is a very good one for beginners because you're only really doing a couple of big things in this video. We're working double crochets, and you saw a foundation chain. Remember, if at any time during the video you feel like it's going a little fast, things like foundation chains, slip knots, double crochets, there are videos that just talk about how to do each of those components, so you can always utilize those resources if you need to. Okay. Okay, so we're coming up the end. Now, what you'll notice is this last stitch is a little hard to see. What I normally do is I'll kind of yarn over and then kind of push it through really carefully. It's kind of a little flat. And we'll yarn over and pull that through. So the edges are always a little hard to tell. If you have trouble seeing the edges, right, you can always count to double check. You can also use a paper clip or a stitch marker and just kind of attach it to the end just to remind yourself. So we're going to chain 2 and we're going to turn our work, and we're on row 3. This is going to be the beginning of the body of our dragonfly. It's pretty low key though. All we're going to do is skip 1 stitch right in the middle to have that middle of the bottom. So if we have 19 stitches, we're going to do 9 on each side. That'll be 18, and we're going to skip the middle. So we're going to double crochet into the first 9 stitches. Remember, do the first one, don't skip that. That chain 2 does not class as a stitch, so that's 1. You do the first 9, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 2 more. We've got 8 and and 9. So we're gonna do our skipping of 1 stitch, just that middle stitch to get that little bottom of the body right here. That's going to be accomplished by skipping 1 stitch. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a chain. So yarn over, pull through. That's 1. We're going to chain 2. And then I'm not going to go into this stitch. I'm going to go into the one after that. So I'm going to get ready for my double crochet and yarn over. Not this stitch, but the next one. Pull the yarn through, 3 loops on the hook, right? Yarn over, pull through 2. Yarn over, pull through 2. And it looks a little bit big at first. It's going to get a little bit smaller, so no worries. So from here, we're just going to double crochet in the next stitches. So you're going to have 9 stitches on each side and the little hole in the middle. Okay, so we're just going to double crochet until we reach the end. Okay. And you'll see that these get pretty quick once you do a couple of them. They get much faster, much easier as you get into the routine. Okay, remember that end is a little hard to see. So do make sure that you go into that whole stitch. You can always count if you are unsure. We wanted to have 9 on each side of the middle of the body. Okay, so we finished our row. We're going to yarn over, pull through 1, yarn over, pull through 2 to get our chain 2 to the new height. We're going to turn our work and flip it over. Now, this next row, we're going to be getting the wings, which is also going to involve skipping some stitches. These wings, you can see underneath, there's 1, 2, 3 stitches that we skip. But you can see we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 stitches that we do first. So this row consists of 6 on either side and 3 skip. That gives us that 9 on each side, and there is 1 stitch right in the middle. So I'll talk you through as we do that. So we're first going to do 6 double crochets. So yarn over, and remember into that very top of that first stitch, yarn over, and pull that yarn through. We got 3, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. That's 1 double crochet. We're going to do 6 total double crochets until we make our wings. So it's 3, 4, 5, get that whole bit, and 6. So here's the next thing that we're gonna do. We're gonna skip these 3, 1, 2, 3 stitches, right? So these 3, and we're gonna attach to the middle. So to skip, we're gonna do the same thing. We're gonna chain 3, 1, 2, 3. Generally, if you skip a stitch, you only chain how many stitches? This one was 2, which is a little bit bigger, and it's just because we have to attach a lot of stuff to that middle. So to attach to the middle, we're gonna not do a double crochet, we're gonna do what's called a single. So a single crochet doesn't do the yarn over first, but the steps are still the same. So you go into the stitch, you grab the yarn and pull it through. You'll have 2 loops on your hook. And then from here, you're gonna yarn over and just pull through 2. So that's what's called a single crochet. You'll notice a double crochet kind of does that twice, right? Where you yarn over and pull through 2. And that's why we call it a double, because there's 2 of them. We want to get the matching wings, so we're going to yarn over and we're going to chain 1, 2, 3, and we're going to skip these 3 stitches, and we're going to double crochet into the 4th one. So the only time we're single crocheting is right there in that middle. So back to a double, so yarn over, skip the first 1, 2, 3, and we're going to go into that 4th one away. Gonna grab the yarn, pull it through, 3 loops on the hook, yarn over, pull through 2. This is a little hard when you've got the chain, but you just kind of hold it down a little bit. And then you've got your 2 first wings. We're gonna double crochet the rest of these stitches until we get to the end. And then we only have a handful more rows. This one builds up pretty quickly, which is nice. Okay, so just double crocheting until we get to the end. And then this last one's a little hard to see. I normally have to like kind of turn and see those 2. Like I said, if you have trouble, you can use either a paper clip, or I'm gonna grab real quick just to show you. This is called a stitch marker. Kind of looks like it goes on a diaper. But if you use something like this or a paper clip, what you do is when we had originally done that first stitch, you would put it in just to kind of mark it. And then as we get closer to the stitch, it's easier to see that last stitch. So I can show you what that looks like maybe when we start our next row, how you would do it. Okay, so here's our last double. We're gonna chain 2. We're gonna turn our work. We're gonna double crochet into that first stitch. Now remember, this is the edge, right? If you feel like you have trouble seeing the edge, what you would do is right after you got that double crochet in, you would attach a stitch marker, excuse me, and see how you've got those 2 loops going over it. And that would just kind of help you keep track of where that first stitch is, right? You could have 1 on each end, so like 1 on here and 1 on this end, just to help you. It is a little easier for me to do counting for something like this just because it has to be even, but either way works. For this next one, these top wings are going to be just 1 stitch bigger. So the bottom wings are skip 3 or chain 3, and the top are going to be a chain 4. So we're going to, if you look instead of doing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 like before, we're gonna do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 before we begin our wings. So we've just done 1. So we're gonna double crochet 2, 3, and 4. One more. 5. So what you can see here, if I kind of flatten it, we've just done 5. So what we're gonna do is, instead of being the exact same size, we're gonna skip not just 3, but a 4th stitch, and it's just gonna be a little bit longer on the top wings. So we're gonna do a chain of 1, 2, 3, and chain 4. That'll make the top wing a little bit longer. Just like before, we're gonna attach to that middle. So I'm gonna go right into that middle stitch. I'm gonna grab the yarn and pull it through to do a single crochet, 2 loops on my hook, yarn over and pull through both of those just to attach that wing. We're gonna mirror, so we're gonna do a chain 4 again. Okay, and then remember you wanna skip 1 more, so we're not gonna attach it to this one, but the next one. And that is gonna be a double crochet. It's a little harder to hold it with the chain. So remember, skip 1, that way the wing is a little longer. Grab the yarn, pull it through. And then I sometimes have to hold that down to do yarn over and pull through the 2, over, pull through 2. So now we've got our top wings done. After we finish this row, there's really only 2 more rows, so we're just about there. We're just gonna finish off this row with some double crochets. Everything's nice and even. Okay. And then, like I said, if you had a stitch marker, your stitch marker, if you did it on both sides, would be right here. And it's a little easier to see that last stitch. But this one's so small that you can kind of just, you know, count if you're ever in doubt. Okay, so we finished that row. We've done so far 1, 2, 3, 4. That was our 5th row. And now our next row is gonna focus on kind of getting those stitches back on top of the dragonfly. That way it's not, you know, stopping there. So to do that, we're gonna chain 2 to get to our height of our row. Typically you chain 2 for double crochet. You can chain 1 if it's single crochet to get to your new height. Now we're gonna double crochet and we're gonna stop once we get to those wings. And I'll kind of show you what to do at that point. There's like a little maneuver that we're gonna do. And then again, same thing with like how big this is. If you want to do your wings different sizes, that's totally fine. If you want like a larger dragonfly, I have 19 stitches, you might want to, you know, do a larger odd number. Remember, you need odd for that middle of the body. But if you want to do an, you know, experiment and kind of figure out how many skip stitches you want to do for your wings, these are 3 and 4. You can do anything you want, really. I am going to go into that last stitch. It's a little hard to see. Here we go. So far we've done 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Remember that first one is a little bit kind of chunkier because it's got the chain and the stitch. But so far we've only done 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Remember originally we had 9 on each side with the middle. So if we have 5, we need to get 4 more stitches before the middle. So this is our chain 4 from the wing, and we are just gonna do 4 double crochets, but just like underneath that chain to kind of recreate our stitches. So that's 1, and just go right under that chain as you're doing your doubles. That's 2, 3, and 1 more. And what you'll see here, I'll show you in a second, is that because we're doing them on that chain, you can kind of slide them and like spread them out better if they're not looking as pretty placement wise. Okay, so that's our 9 stitches. Remember, we're gonna have 9 on this side, and we've got the middle stitch. Now for this middle stitch, if I did a double crochet, I'll kind of show you what it looks like. Here we go. So this is what a double crochet looks like. I find that it kind of is a little squished just because the single crochet is so low compared to the other stitches. right? It does kind of dip lower. So I like to make this a teeny bit taller, and instead of doing a double crochet, I'm gonna do a triple or a treble crochet where you wrap the yarn not once, but twice around. We're gonna go into that stitch, we're gonna pull the yarn through, and then we have 4 on the hook. And just like you probably are gonna guess, a triple is where you yarn over and pull through 2 3 times. So these naming of the stitches are really just for how many times we're doing that. So that's 2 left, that's our 3rd. And it just kind of looks a little bit better, I think, height-wise. I think the double is a little too low just because we've been single crocheting in the middle. After that, it smooths down. We're just going to do 4 more doubles onto this wing. Right, you're just going to go under that chain. That's 2. We're going to do 3. And 1 more. Okay. And then once you've done those 4, we're just going to double crochet until the end. I might want to redo this one because it looks like my yarn kind of pulled a little bit. So I'm just going to redo those because it got a little pulled on my 3rd one. You can always undo it if you're not satisfied with how your stitch looks. Okay, so I've got my 4. You can spread them out. And then I'm going to crochet into these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Remember, we're double crocheting all the way across. 90% of this pattern is double crochets. There's a couple of singles and that 1 treble, but it's pretty much all doubles. Okay, almost there. And then here we are, at our stitch marker. So you can really easily see where that first stitch is. You could also put a paper clip in if it's hard for you to remember visually where it is. So our last double crochet. Okay, and then we've got 1 more row. It's just going to be double crocheting 1 more layer. So we're going to chain 2. So 1 and 2. We are going to turn our work, and then we're just going to do double crochets. For counting purposes, you should have 19 total. So we're just going to go all the way across. Here we go. Almost there. Sorry about that, my yarn's just a little tangled in the background. Okay, we're almost there. Okay, we're just about done. Got a handful more stitches. And then remember, if you are nervous about like miscounting or missing a stitch, my recommendation is just once we've got that last one in to count that we've got 19. So I'm just going to kind of pull that up just to keep it. And then I'm just going to count. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Now I'm getting 18, so let me just double check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. Well, let's see. Nope, I can see exactly where I missed my stitch. As I was telling you, lovely directions on counting. Looks like I only did 3 stitches right there. That should have been 4 stitches. So if you realize that you made a counting mistake too, never fear. You're just gonna pull that yarn and it's gonna break your heart just a little bit. But I just want to show you how easy it is. So this must have been, yep, when I went back to redo that guy here, because remember I wasn't happy with my stitch, but this one has 4 in it, so it looks like I just put 3 into the wing instead of 4. A lesson to count, not just at the end, but as you go. Okay, I'm just gonna tidy that up. And let's double check once I finish that I have an actual 19 before I do that last row, just to make sure that it's all looking good. So a good cautionary tale for you guys to just do your counting more than I was. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. Okay. I'm going to redo that last row by chaining 2 and then just doing that double crochet real fast. Okay, so there is my adjusted last row with the 19 stitches counted for. Once you're done, what you're gonna do is leave a little bit of a tail and you're gonna snip your yarn. And then to tie it off, you're just gonna yarn over and pull it through and it'll kind of create like a little knot. If you don't like that knot, you can also just do, a traditional knot like this. If you're like, oh, I want it really secure and I don't want to worry about it coming undone. And you're just going to leave that little tail. And if you want to make a border, I'll show you in another video how to do like a little white border around. And I'll show you, how to do the border and kind of hide that tail in along the way. So thanks for watching this video. To see the other steps to making the blanket, go ahead to the subsequent videos.